My name is David Stapp, and I'm one of the founders of B&G Studios. We are a student-based film organization at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. We were founded last September of 2011, and we've grown to approximately 28 members. B&G Studios, as you can see, we started out from the ground up. We knew we were going to, a bunch of students get together to make, we want to make films, and we knew we were going to be, kind of on our own, with our own resources, trying to do our own thing. And so we were kind of like, we're guerrilla filmmakers. And some of our members took that, they didn't translate it as well, and they thought I actually meant the animal gorilla. So I told my group members, everyone, I want you to kind of come up with your own concept for the logo. And somebody came in with a gorilla on the actual logo, and they're like, you said we were guerrilla filmmakers. So I thought it was so funny that we kind of went that route, and it's kind of like our take is King Kong holding a clapboard, and we just kind of stylized the lettering to, and also of course B&G stands for blue and gold. That's our school colors, so that's why we went with the color scheme for it. And just kind of went from there. We had one of our members, Gabby Gonzalez. She drew up the she drew the actual gorilla for us. Okay. I've been making movies since 7th grade, so I think about 9 years now.
Okay, and what inspired you to do so?
It's a funny story. Back in middle school, the cool thing back then was to skateboard, and I tried it, and I was terrible. I was miserable at it. And one of my friends, he suggested, "Hey, take my camera. You should film us, and we can make a skate video out of it." So I was like, "Okay, I'll give that a shot." Started filming it, and then I went out and got a little beginner's editing program, and I fell in love ever since. And I got my own camera, and I just been in my backyard ever since, just trying to film anything I could. I'm a part of the Media Studies program at UNCG.
Okay, and what do you hope to do once you graduate from here?
When I graduate from UNCG, I'm hoping, there's a few options I have, either to attend a grad school, an actual film school that has a graduates program, possibly on the West Coast, or there's also the possibilities of doing internships at some of the film studios out here on the East Coast, especially in Wilmington, having Sony Screen Gym Studios and Lionsgate and other film studios out there, possibly trying to get on that train. So there are options out there, but there's also talk of, if B&G Studios starts to get enough clients and enough steady work, we could open up our own small videography business. Okay. One of my biggest goals is to one day have my own film studio. It may not be the biggest studio out there, but my goal is to write and direct my films. I don't want some guy to hand me a script and say, "You make this film for me and make me lots of money," and you go, kind of scrape off whatever money you can get out of it too. I want to call the shots. I want to, get to a point where I can, sit down, plan it out, have the resources at my, have all the necessary materials at my side to make my movies. So one day I would like to have my own production studio. The hardest part of making movies is probably the planning. You really have to plan every little detail, because you may show up to set one day, and if you're missing one thing, you could just ruin a whole day's worth of shooting. So you have to do a whole lot of pre-production, planning out your shots, your shot list. You have to get your necessary props and wardrobe for the shots you're going to be doing that day. You have to gather all your crew members, and when you're networking all these different people, especially since we're students, it's very hard working around schedules. So, and there's been days where we showed up to set and we were missing one thing, and we had to end like a few hours early because we couldn't go on any further. So a big thing is really being prepared.
Who's your favorite director?
My favorite, okay, so narrowing down my favorite director is pretty hard, but my biggest inspiration as a director is Robert Rodriguez. He wrote a book called Rebel Without a Crew, and he talked about his start and how he got to where he is today. He's the director of Desperado, Sin City, El Mariachi, all these films with Antonio Banderas and stuff like that. And he started off just being a pretty poor guy from Texas, and he went off and sold his body to science. He participated in a month of testing to get paid so that he could fund his new film he was wanting to do. And that film went on to become El Mariachi, that was distributed by some pretty big studios, and then it led to being Desperado with Antonio Banderas. And he literally started as a kid like me in like high school, and just started filming stuff with his friends. Started entering into film competitions. He just started with nothing, and he just did it. He went out and made his own films. He just took every initiative he could, and he's gotten really big today. He has his own studio out in Texas, and it's really kind of a testimony to show, you know, you don't have to be born into the business. You don't have to know the right connections all at once. If you really try hard enough, you can get your foot in the door. It may not be, you know, instant, but that was probably the biggest inspiration for me. But my favorite director of all time, I can't answer that.
Gotcha. Do you have any advice for aspiring filmmakers?
No matter what kind of equipment you have, that should not stop you from making a movie. I started with a little Sony DV Handycam and nothing else. That was really it. And we still had a blast making all these little movies in our backyards with all of our friends. They'd come over after school and we'd make them. And you know, honestly, with what we really have at our disposal today, if you go back 20 years from now, they had nothing. Like kids our age had nothing at their disposal to use. And we've got some pretty amazing quality video cameras out there now. You can get pretty cheap, you know, and it's pretty crazy. If you look online, you can find pretty much everything you need to make your movie. And some of it may not be the most high quality, but if you can take the time, get some money together, honestly, all you need is a camera. That's the way I look at it. There's some people who are really picky out there about, you know, the quality and comparing it to big cinema, but you know, we're kids, we're students, you know. It's really hard to get to where they are because they have millions of dollars thrown at them for all this equipment and all the resources they have. So I would say, no matter what, even if people tell you, you know, you can't pull that off of what you have, I think you can. You may have to get really creative and work around it, but nothing should stand in your way from achieving your dream.